Hey everyone, welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today we have the pleasure of talking with Scott Tobe. I almost did it wrong. Scott Tobe, not Toby. Hey Scott, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Scott Tobe, not Toby, and I have been running Signature Financial Planning since 2005. My father started the firm back in 1991, and I worked with him for a few years, and then had the opportunity to buy the firm, and have been running it ever since. So.
hmm Your dad didn't try to talk you out of going into the industry like mine did?
No, actually the opposite. He never actually even really mentioned the business to me. And I had no intention of going into finance. I was a psychology major and was heading towards a career in psychology. And it was actually, let's see, my junior year, my dad asked if I wanted to meet with one of his clients, who was a psychiatrist, just to talk to her about the industry. And so I agreed and went out to lunch with her. And she asked me why I wanted to be a therapist. And I told her, well, first and foremost, I really want to be able to help people. Secondly, I want to have my own practice. And third, I want the ability to make money. And she looked at me and she said, "You just described what your father does." And I said, "Really? Well, how does my father help people?" And she said, "Oh my God, let me tell you all the ways." And she literally started listing off the ways my father had helped her and really broadened my horizons of what my father did. I thought he just helped, wealthy people make more money in my mind. And I learned that that is one of very, very many things that financial advisors are able to help with.
Mhm. I think a good case could be made that uh, some of the best therapy you can give someone is financial security.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, at the end of the day, a therapist is really just helping. I think everything comes down to either love or fear. And,
hmm
a good therapist is really helping move someone from fear to love. And that is absolutely, I mean, one of the things people fear most after health is money. And so you're absolutely right. I actually find that I refer back to my therapy training a lot. And I really, think it's a valuable asset when helping my clients.
hmm I have to say your dad sounds like a very very wise person as well. He could see. He's like, I think I'm doing this for the same reason that my son wants to do it. Perhaps he needs some more insight to realize.
Yeah, he had an experience with his father, who owned a men's clothing store in Canada. And my father had no desire to go into that business. And my grandfather really pushed him hard to go into that business.
Mm,
And it not only drove my father away, but it drove him out of Canada and into the United States and into a very, very different business. And so I think my dad, purposely or not, took a very different approach, and obviously it was successful.
I mean, your grandpa could. I think it could be argued is also very wise. I mean, your father was very successful, and you're definitely living up to that mantle.
Yeah, thank you. My grandfather was wise, but it did drive a wedge between the relationship. But ultimately, once my grandfather saw how successful and happy my father was, they did come back together. Thank
hmm
goodness.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Is your father still with us?
Yeah, he is. Thank goodness. He's still one of my biggest and greatest advisors and cheerleaders. And
Oh
yeah,
man,
we talk often.
that's great. Yeah, my dad is my biggest advisor and mentor.
Yeah, I definitely learned so much from my father about this business, about life. So, my philosophies, the philosophy of the firm, the ethos of the firm, it's all still very much driven and rooted in his teachings and, the way that he acts in the world.
hmm can you share some of some great insights he gave you?
Yeah, absolutely. first and foremost, the probably most important thing he always talked about was, it's the client. It's all about the client. And he stressed that over and over and over again, that every decision we make, everything we add to the firm, it should all start with why and how does this benefit the client. So that's one thing that is constantly going through my head. Another one that he talked about over and over again was, ethics, ethics, ethics. He always talked about Pittsburgh's a small community, and if you make one ethical mistake, you're done. There's just no way
Mm.
to recover because of how tight knit this community is. And so that's another one. And another one of his sayings that's always in my mind, especially as I'm trying to, lead my clients to what I feel like is success. He always said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's one of his uh, common aphorisms. That's always in my head.
Mhm.
I could go on and on, but I know we don't
Yeah,
have.
yeah. Very, very wise words. So when your father started the firm, did he focus on a specific type of client? And then when you know, uh, purchased the firm, did you stay with that type of client, or did you retarget?
Yeah, so when my father started, he was an insurance broker working for a large insurance firm, and through the '80s, as financial planning was becoming more of an industry, he realized, instead of dealing with one sliver of someone's finances, he really wanted to focus on the whole picture, and so he realized he wanted to become a financial advisor, but he felt captive. He was being told by people who had never met his clients what products to use. And so that's why he went independent. But when he started his business in 91, I remember I was 13 years old at the time. And I remember the conversation, we need to tighten our belts. Dad's starting a business. We all need to be, supportive. And times are going to be tough for a little while. And so when he started, he would take any client he could find. And if they had a $5,000 IRA to open up, or if they had 100,000 at the time, he was willing to put his all into them. When I, when I joined the firm in 2002, we already had probably too many clients to be able to service. And when I bought the firm from him in 2005, it became very clear very quickly that if we wanted to have that very high level of service that our clients have become accustomed to, that we could not continue to serve the masses. And so my business partner and I looked at each other. I was at the time 26 years old, and my business partner, Mark, was 31 years old. And so we were very young. We managed at that time about $100 million. So we had a relatively big practice at the time. And so we wanted to be real conscious about who it was that we served and how we served them. And so he and I made the decision that our favorite part of the business was working with the high net worth clients that we had. Um, and we loved it because, again, if we were going to practice for 30 plus years, we wanted to work with the most challenging cases. And we found that the complexities involved in working with high and ultra high net worth individuals was what was really mentally stimulating to us. And so we did change the tack of who we decided we wanted to work with, and we really changed really the whole business over the next 10, 15 years to become what it is today.
Wow. So would it be accurate to say that you pivoted the business to a scalable model to service ultra high net worth clients? Is that fair?
As a fair statement, yes.
Oh wow. How did you do that? That's incredible.
How we did that. So there was one recognition we had right away. That was that every single one of the four clients that we had at that time that fit the criteria of ultra high net worth, every one of them had a couple things in common outside of everything that traditional financial planners do. They all had private equity and they all had private real estate. Um, So right away, Mark and I said we wanted to get involved in both of those areas personally, because I don't believe you should be advising on anything that you don't know firsthand. And so he and I started building up a portfolio of real estate, and we also started building a portfolio of private investments. Um, so that was one area. The other recognition was that, we did a lot of homework and we worked with a lot of great consultants in the business, and we were able to clearly see that the firms that we felt were serving the ultra high net worth the best were team based, team focused, and so we decided right then that we wanted to build the best team in the country to work with all aspects of a client situation, because you know with all those complexities I was talking about, we feel that if anyone holds themselves out there as an expert in all the areas such as estate planning, insurance planning, um, philanthropic planning, generational wealth transfer, all those different areas that you need to know every detail of when you're working with these individuals. We felt that if someone said they were an expert in all those, they were lying. And so what we did was we went out and we found the best person for each of those areas. Now, all of our advisors are generalists, but they also have one or two areas that they dig deep on and they need to become the absolute expert in. And we feel that now we have absolutely built the world's best team or the country's best team that can work with ultra high net worth individuals. And a lot of people will tell you they're team based, but they're not really. Most financial planning firms are set up to compensate advisors, so that they're in competition with each other. And we set it up so that all of our advisors are really focused on the betterment of Signature Financial Planning as a whole. And therefore, if I need you to come in on my meeting to talk about estate planning because you are a estate planning attorney, you're going to feel that it's worth your while to do so. And so that's where we are today. We have a great team, and we do feel we are really well equipped to help ultra high net worth individuals.
Hmm. Wow, that's incredible. And it sounds like this idea came to you when you were 26, and I'm sure it evolved since then. So you must have had moments where you're, 26 to 30 talking to 50, 60, 70-year-old ultra high net worth clients, investors. How do you get them to take you seriously at that age?
I'll never forget one of this was before I bought the practice, but I remember Mark and I had this prospect that was a really big prospect for us at the time. And I remember right before we went into the meeting, my father came over to introduce himself and was talking to this prospect, and then it was time for the small talk to end, and he said, "Okay, well, I'm going to give these kids a chance." And I remember feeling this big, and yeah, I mean that was just we knew that if he was saying that, that's what other people were thinking. And so, yeah, it was difficult for sure at
Mhm.
first. And, I remember especially, my father was in a car accident in 2005, which had him out of the office for about 6 months. And so he didn't really plan to retire. He was only 56. And obviously at 26, I was probably, in hindsight, I can't believe he trusted me to buy the firm at that young age.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, after he came back 6 months later, I think he looked around and saw his clients were really happy, and the firm was continuing to do well. And I think he was itching to get out. He had some other interests that he wanted to pursue, and so yeah, he retired and made that leap. And somehow enough people trusted us along the way at those young ages, um, and yeah, over the time, we certainly grew some gray hairs, which I think helped. And yeah, now
Wisdom. Yeah.
yeah, now we've got those wisdom gray hairs, and certainly we have no trouble anymore bringing in successful investors.
Yeah, you're maybe fending off your next of kin from trying to take over.
No, my kids are 11 and 9, so we've got
Okay.
some time before they're before they're joining the fray.
Yeah, got it. Wow. So that's incredible. Your dad, you know, um, comes back 6 months later after healing up, and he's just like, "Dang, kid's got it."
Yeah. Yeah, he
That's what's
also
up.
he was doing some real estate work, and
Hmm.
he was doing some real estate beliefs specifically, and um, so I think he was itching to go spend more time there building that, and so I think he saw this as his opportunity, and
Yeah, yeah, win right there.
it was a
So
win-win. Yeah.
so I imagine your uh strategies for finding uh, talking to and then closing ultra high net worth clients has changed since you were 26. How did you do it when you started? How did it evolve, and how do you do it today?
Yeah, I would say that the general idea of how we did it then and how we do it now is the same. Um, it was always about, what are you passionate about first? So we always talk to all of our advisors about this. What is it you're passionate about, right? Because you can't just go join an organization because there's wealthy people there and think that they're all going to come to you, right? It's got to
Hmm.
be you're joining something that you're really passionate about. So I'm really passionate about philanthropy, and I'm really passionate about just entrepreneurism and growing my business and other people's businesses. So back then I got involved in a couple philanthropic organizations, and it wasn't primarily about finding clients. It was primarily about fulfilling the passion that I had, and the clients therefore come, right? Because when you're doing something you're passionate about, the people around you are going to see that passion and they're going to be attracted to it, and they're going to wonder what else it is you do and start asking questions about your wealth management practice. And so that was one area. The other area that we've gotten very involved in now is EO, Entrepreneur Organization.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Um,
great. Yeah.
that's my absolute favorite thing to be involved in.
Oh, cool.
We're surrounded by other business owners, entrepreneurs. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I just love, mixing and matching with entrepreneurs and getting to
Hmm.
learn their stories and what struggles they deal with. And then, you hear about their struggles, and you can always learn a lot about how to manage your business from the struggles they've been through. And so EO has been a really phenomenal, both in terms of personal development, in terms of business development, and then just in terms of being around like-minded people. All of them energize me, uh,
Hmm.
and so therefore EO has become a great place for me to really build my business.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I hope to qualify for it some at some point soon.
I hope you do, and if you ever
Yeah.
want to talk about it offline, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm really
Oh,
really about EO.
thanks so much. Yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that. Um, that's awesome. Uh, so um, you came up with this plan to be like the one-stop shop for ultra high net worth clients. How did you find the best folks in the industry for each one of these aspects of servicing an ultra high net worth client? And how did you convince them to work with you? And how do you keep them staying every day?
Yeah, those are all great questions. So, uh, the book I read by Philip Pelaviv, who is a consultant in our industry, was called Ensemble Practice, and it immediately resonated with me as what I wanted to build. And one of the points in there was, you can't just go out there and build this team right, immediately, because as you and I both know, you need to really, really trust people that you're bringing into your company. So the bottom line of how we did it is by working our networks and finding the people that we really trust. So the first area in 2005 that we knew we needed help with was managing the assets. My father was doing a lot of that in house, and we loved the fact that we could do it in house. We felt, especially for high net worth individuals, you need that tailored in-house investment management, so that you can make decisions for that client that are tax specific and so on. One of Mark's best friends since he was in junior high, or no, even I think it was elementary school, was a guy named Aaron Lehman who was working at PNC Bank, and so he was the first person we brought over, and there was already a lot of trust there. And then over the years, we just, you know, we knew people in the business, and as we got to know them, there was a level of trust formed, and we never moved quickly to bring someone on board. Like for example, Deb Graver is one of our fantastic advisors. She was president of another large financial planning organization. I met her at some philanthropic work we were both doing back in 2005. And I asked her, maybe a year or two later, hey, would you come join us? We would really love to have a financial advisor like you. And she said, I'm really happy where I am. But we just started setting up quarterly lunches just to check in, help brainstorm with each other. And for years, she was really happy where she was until the moment she wasn't. And the moment she wasn't, she said, I think I'm ready to entertain joining you guys. And so we did, 6 months of diligence, and it worked great on both sides. And so she joined us. And so, yeah, I could go on and on with each story, but I think each story of how another team member joined was, yes, we were looking for specific areas of expertise, but we waited until we could develop long-term relationships with those people to make sure they were really the right ones. And I think that's really how we avoided missteps and have allowed our team to come on and join. And you ask, how do we keep them? Well, first and foremost, everyone who has been brought onto the team we all get along. We all love each other. We really enjoy being with each other. We always talk about both clients and staff joining the Signature family. And I know that's a big cliche, but we really feel that way, and we take care of each other like family. And so that's first and foremost how we don't lose team members. The second reason or way is we treat people fairly, and we treat people the way we want to be treated. And this is true with our staff too. We always talk about, we hire the best of the best in each area, because once we know you're great, if you're great at what you do and you have a lot of drive, we set very high bars, but we don't micromanage, and we don't just, we don't watch over the back of everyone, because we hired you to do a job and we trusted you. And so we just we assume that people are going to constantly achieve greatness. And if they don't make it long on our team. And if they do, great, we're going to keep being hands off and let you do what you do, because you're great at what you do. And then the final thing we've done with, most of the advisors that we know we want there to be there long term, is we sell a piece of the company to them, whether we exchange, their practice for shares in the company, or whether we sell them shares. That's a way that we make sure that we are all very aligned. And so, we have 7 shareholders, and that is something that is also very unique for our business. But in my opinion, if you're working your butt off day in and day out, and you have proven over a very long period of time that you are an incredibly valuable member of our team, we don't ever want you to leave. And we don't ever even want to have to think about the fact that you could leave. And so once you're an owner, you could leave potentially, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And quite frankly, why would you want to? Because you have ownership in a great company that's been growing incredibly fast.
Wow, that's very unique. I've not heard that strategy yet. We've talked to dozens of financial advisors. Is it often the case that, someone has a thriving practice, you want them to join yours? Do you offer them shares then, or do they
Yeah,
come
that,
aboard and build? And what's sort of the normal protocol there?
so it all depends on the level of trust and how long we've known you.
Mhm.
We are so selective about the type of person we bring onto our firm. You can't just be smart. Smart's that's the bottom most
Baseline.
important. Yeah, it's baseline. Thank you. Um, so baseline is smart, but what you also must have is EQ, emotional quotient. You must be able to really relate with people, and um, so yeah, I mean, by finding people that have both IQ and EQ, we find that we end up with the best possible people out there, and long-term relationships allows us to know that you are a smart person, that you're an ethical person, and that you have a high emotional quotient. Um, However, if we don't know you for a very long time, but you seem like a great advisor, and we've heard great things about you, we'll bring you over in a silo relationship while we get to know you. And then over a few years, once we've really maintained that you are, everything we thought and hoped you would be, then we will, offer to buy the book and roll you in and everything else. So
That's awesome. So, just not necessarily slow, but like thoughtful growth. It sounds like is the MO.
yeah, it's never been slow. I mean, we've had a 14% KGAR over the years, going
Hmm.
back when we purchased the firm.
Hmm.
But methodical, absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
we are very methodical about the clients we bring on, because we don't want to get, what sets us apart again is our very high level of service and our ability to be able to bring all these different advisors in to work with you. And if we have just too many clients, we absolutely won't be able to live up to the promises that we've always made. So yes, we are very methodical about the clients we bring on, about staff members we bring on, and certainly about partners we are bringing.
Hmm. How do you tell if a client uh, should be brought on or should not be brought on?
Yeah, so there's the easy stuff, which is are they a high net worth individual? But then there's the more esoteric stuff, like are they someone who is going to fit well into the culture that we have?
Mm.
And not everyone does, and not every advisor is happy when we call out the fact that a client doesn't necessarily fit the model that we've created. But we have been pretty stringent about sticking to it, and therefore, what we've created is an environment that we all absolutely love, because we are
Hmm.
surrounded by coworkers that we respect and love, and we are surrounded by clients that we respect and we definitely have had situations where we've had to fire clients. Um, that has primarily been when they have treated our staff with no respect or with little respect. That's not something we are willing to deal with. And it's just understood that we are not right for every client, and not every client is right for us.
Hmm.
That's true with staff. That's true with partners.
And I think that that fits perfectly with your how do we keep our best people? And it's you don't bring on clients that don't mesh with the culture, right?
Yeah.
Like that could be the most important aspect of maintaining your best people.
Yeah. When we fired the last client we fired, who made a very inappropriate comment to one of our staff members, and it was really, really difficult for her to come to us and tell us what had happened. Um, but we acted quickly and decisively, and I am convinced that we have an employee for life in her after making that decision.
Hmm.
It was a client that made the firm a lot of money, and when she saw that we prioritized her over money, um, I'm pretty convinced that she'll be with us for life, and she's someone we want to be with us for life. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
she's worth more to us than any one client. And
yeah.
don't get me wrong, we love and appreciate and respect our clients, and recognize we wouldn't be in business without them. But the same is true with with our staff. If our staff are not happy, if they're not respected and appreciated, then they won't be there to service the clients. And
Hmm.
so all different aspects have to be in alignment for a successful business and
Hmm.
to maintain the growth rates we want to maintain.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing. I think today, you read the news and it's just nonstop kind of, ugly corporate stories. So to hear that is very refreshing, and I think shows a lot of your integrity and caring for people over profits. That's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you.
Good.
And luckily for us, we don't ever have to answer to public markets. So we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I know we're coming close to the end of our time here. I'm very interested in you're interested in philanthropy. How can your average financial advisor get more involved in philanthropy?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I was always passionate about philanthropy, but I didn't become a really great expert in philanthropic advising until I took my CAP designation, Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy. I was lucky. I took it through the Pittsburgh Foundation. So there was a cohort of financial advisors and other financial professionals that they gathered together, and we all got to study together and take the courses together, which I would say really enriched the whole curriculum. Um, but without a doubt, that is what really helped me become an expert in philanthropic advising. Definitely would recommend that for someone. It's through the American College, and
Hmm.
it's a not a not one of those designations that will take you 3 years. So you can do it in 6 months, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really rewarding.
We'll be sure to link that in the show notes. Awesome. Well, I could ask you questions for the rest of the afternoon, but I will respect your time. You have a lot of you're a very busy man. My final question, and it's open ended, so you can take it in any direction that you like. It is, what are you working towards?
Hmm, that is a great question. Um, So, yeah, one of the things that is, we've talked about philanthropy a few throughout this show. I want to really build out the philanthropic part of our organization. Um, so, a couple of the things that I'm working towards right now are building client giving circles. So we are creating these as we speak. We basically will create a social mission, find our clients who align with that social mission. Those clients will all fund their donor advised funds for, we're going to say a minimum of $25,000. And then we're going to create like a Shark Tank environment where we find different philanthropic organizations within Pittsburgh that we bring in to pitch to this group. And then the group will decide how they want to distribute their money throughout the year. Um, so I set up a nonprofit version of this in Pittsburgh called Steel Tree, and so now I just want to bring this to our clients. So that's one thing I'm working on. Also in the philanthropic space, we're working on creating a philanthropic fair in Pittsburgh, and we want to have all types of different financial professionals be able to give you um, a 1 day seminar for ultra high net worth clients where they're going to be able to come and learn everything about the current philanthropic landscape. How to spend their money, how to spend their time, how to have the biggest impact, things they should avoid doing that hurt nonprofits, all the different tools that they can use to invest in the nonprofits. I mean, to invest in nonprofits, but also to give them tax advantages while doing so, and so on. So it's going to be a fantastic day. We don't have a date yet, but we're working towards that sometime in Pittsburgh next fall of 2024. So that's a couple of the things that I'm working towards.
Wow, those all sound very exciting and in line with everything you've shared today. So awesome. Where can our audience find out more about you?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Scott Tobe. They can go to our website at www.signaturefp. That's F as in financial, P as in planning.com. And yeah, all our information is there.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Scott. thank you so much for taking the time, your busy schedule, to talk with me and my audience today. I learned a ton and really enjoyed getting to know you. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure talking to you as well, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And all listeners out there, thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.